have now been proven right. And I think that you've got to be very careful when you say Ollie's been proven right, Matic has been proven right, because you then totally dismiss the bad times. And I think those players, that Matic and Ollie learned from the bad times. They weren't. It's like, I think some people want to say, "Oh, sit down, haters, you were wrong." I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right, and I don't think even Solskjaer or Matic would say that was right. They've not proven people wrong. They've just been given the time to prove themselves again. And I think with Matic, most people who watch United play would know in 2019 he was very, very poor. And anybody who's watched him for the last 6 months in 2020 would say he's been probably as good as he's ever been in his career. A renaissance, absolutely class. And the same with Solskjaer. I think when he first came in for those first few months, it was fantastic. Then he got the job and he's been struggling ever since until a certain point happened, which I'll talk about in a minute. And now, it's tiny steps, but it's definitely steps in the right direction. They're massive steps, actually, because they're not just wins. They're winning the United way. And, you know, the United way is a bit like the Holy Grail. Some people say, I've even had United fans say to me, why are you going on about the United way? What is the United way? And I'm like, well, if you don't know what the United way is, you probably should have a look at what this club stands for. But certainly there is a certain type of fan, and I would say a large percentage of our fan base fit into this. They know what it is. I think the first thing he's done, in his own words, is jettison or remove the club of the bad apples. And I don't think he gets enough credit for this, but if you think about the first month he came into the club, Mr. Favourite, Mr. Mourinho's, foster son or whatever, was kicked out of the club. And I say kicked out of the club because it surprised me how quickly it happened. But literally within a few weeks of Ollie coming in, Fellaini was gone. How did Ollie know to do that? Did he just know that? I think he did. I think Solskjaer's a fan like me and like many of you lot who, when he was watching United, just was like, nah, I don't care what Fellaini does. I don't care about how hard he works. I don't care how many goals he scores. I don't care what fan following he has. He ain't a United player, and he's never going to be a United player for me. And he did that as an interim manager. And I'm sure he had people in his ear, and I suspect those people may have been a Michael Carrick or a Mike Phelan or somebody. But he came straight away and he got rid of Fellaini. And that, to me, showed that there was a ruthless streak to Solskjaer, because I don't think that's in question. The second thing, and I'm going to get it in very early, is, and I will argue this with anybody, if anybody said to me, could you describe why Manchester United are now heading places and they weren't before? And why, and should fans have just been more patient with Ollie at the start? I actually don't think so. I don't think so, because for me there's one thing that's turned this all around, and it's Bruno. It is. Some people won't want to accept it, but it is. And there's nothing wrong with accepting it. Bruno Fernandes is the reason Manchester United and are prospering, and the reason Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is in a job. Not through anything of himself. He doesn't walk around with, a rabbit's foot in his pocket or anything like that. He's lucky because he's the fourth. He's lucky because he's Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Because I think if he'd come into this club after Sir Alex, he'd have been gone by that Burnley game. I think they would have sacked him. But I think Woodward and co couldn't sack another manager and didn't want to sack a United legend. So I think they went that extra bit in January where they maybe didn't do that with Van Gaal, and they maybe didn't do it with Mourinho, and they certainly didn't do it with Moyes. And maybe, look, his points total was terrible. His record was terrible after that Burnley game. And look, if he'd been sacked, it would have been very saddening, but a lot of people would have said it was the right decision. The club never did it, and they never wanted to do it for many different reasons. And that faith has been repaid. And I don't think United's faith was about, we believe this is the right man. I don't think United's board really knows much about football, if I'm absolutely honest. In that sense, I don't think they could look at the way we were playing and go, no, I can see something going on here, because they haven't got that level of football knowledge. But that faith, because they had to be faithful, and they knew that the fans were going to... Look, basically, they knew if they sacked Ollie, it was going to get a lot worse on the terraces. They were already getting people around their house and stuff. So they stuck with Ollie, they brought Bruno in, and that has now allowed Manchester United to go to a level that many of us always wanted Solskjaer to do.